Dave Starman gives us his NCAA return to the ice outlook as college hockey gets underway. Plus, retro jersey love, mascot debate update, and your questions for the Beauts are answered all in our 48th episode.
Hunters, fishermen, and Minnesota sports fans, new and old, locally owned and operated Soda Stick offers the widest variety of gear and garb to dress you and your fandoms. Toss it back old school with Remember the Metrodome tee, or look sharp with any of their latest McGolden Light collaboration collection. Add that Bardown Beauties promo code at checkout for free shipping on all purchases. Hello, everybody. We're back. Episode 48, recording on Friday the 13th. Ooh, are you superstitious at all? Like Friday?
Yes.
I love
Yes,
are you?
I am very superstitious. I am. And with the way this year has been going, every day might as well be Friday the 13th. So I am very scared about today. I'm not going anywhere. You can't make me leave my apartment today.
It doesn't faze me at all. I mean, I'm not going to go walk under a ladder or like pick up a black cat today.
Well, you're just asking for trouble if you do that. Yeah.
In general. But yes, we're recording lots of good stuff. As Alexis had mentioned, Dave Starman will be joining us, talk a lot of college hockey. Something we're going to talk a little bit more of because it's returning. On that note, University of Alabama, Huntsville, Alexis. Cam Talbot, Minnesota Wild goalie now. Big part in raising $17 million to kind of reinstate that program. So they still have a team down there. Why do you think that? Yeah.
Alabama Huntsville is just the story that keeps on giving. It's like what was it, like 6 months ago? We're like, they're done. And then a week later, we're like, no, May. It was like back from the dead.
Yeah. May, they were like, you're out. You don't belong. Hockey doesn't belong here. And people rallied around it. Like, I love it. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I'm such an advocate for growing the game. Like, I know it's the unpopular thing. Like, traditional markets are it's special there, right? Minnesota being one of them. But I love seeing it in non-traditional spots. We always whine and complain about like, oh, not enough people care about hockey. Well, it's because it needs to be exposed to more people. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's great to see, again, people put their money behind it and say, no, let's keep this going. So they open up their season November 20th against Robert Morris. It's congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's, like you said, people will always find something to complain about. And for some reason, hockey fans get really worked up about non-traditional markets, but at the end of the day, that's a good thing. You want to see expansion. You want to see teams in places that didn't have them before because it's just more opportunities for more people. So I just love this story because it was like tragedy and then it turned into this like underdog story. And like now it's like I kind of want only the best for Alabama Huntsville. Like I'm an Alabama Huntsville fan, I think. I mean, it's great to see, people who have the ability and have the money supporting that. Nice to see Cam Talbot stepping up and saying, hey, I want to help get this going again. I want to help support this. Because really with stuff like this, it does take the help of other people to keep it on its feet. It took people saying, no, we want this team to come back. And then now it's going to take money to get it going and keep it alive. So it's really nice to see that. And I can't wait for the next Alabama Huntsville update because it's my favorite storyline right now.
And for those who don't know, Cam Talbot's actually an alum of University of Alabama Huntsville. So that's where he has the passion to give back. In a quote to the NHL.com, he had said, "This gives us longevity and long-term support. Just with that and the support, the commitment from both the alumni and the administration to continue to fight for the program, I'm obviously more optimistic than I was 3, 4, 5 months ago." So maybe it is done, Alexis. Maybe that's it. They're like, hey, storybook closed. We got the marriage, the happy ending.
I hope not. Give me some kind of twist ending. We've wrote along with it for this long. We might as well have some more plots to the story. But hopefully if there is any more to the storyline, it's only good news because I think they've had enough bad news for the year for their team. So we'll see how the team does this year, but all the best luck to them. And nice to see people getting it back on its feet because it's a good thing that there's teams in other cities and other places that are quote unquote non-traditional. You guys, it's good. Trust me.
Totally good. I know. I seriously, I've been fighting this battle for years. Like, it is a good thing. Like, I started a Big Ten hockey blog when Big Ten first was announced, a decade ago. And
God, has it been that long?
It's been that long. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get behind this. Like at the time I was working out in Colorado Springs at USA Hockey. So I was drinking the Kool-Aid of like, yes, let's grow it. And I know people to this day, I'm still like fighting with, like, I know you guys, it's different. And I know it feels weird. And it's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. I promise. Like, and it's given your St. Cloud Huskies a chance to really shine, and the UMD Bulldogs. And I mean, you're no longer looking at just the Gophers, and North Dakota still has a strong program there. And it's still some of those teams that had always been successful, but
are you a Jason Zucker fan? He's from a non-traditional hockey market. Are you an Austin Matthews fan? You should be. He's from a non-traditional hockey market. These people growing up in places that don't have, the what you would typically think of as these big hockey schools, or, it's not Minnesota, it's not Massachusetts, it's not the East Coast. It's like, without these cities and these schools and these places giving opportunities to people, you don't have players like Jason Zucker and Austin Matthews, and more are going to be coming out here in the next few years and forever. So keep that in mind. If you're fans of those kind of players, you want schools in non-traditional hockey markets to give opportunities to hockey players. So
we all know you're a fan of Austin Matthews. Yes. What's going on with that mustache that may or may not be leaving his face, Alexis?
Yes, I feel torn because it's for a good cause, but I don't want him to shave the mustache. And for those who haven't seen the video, it is really funny. He reads tweets about his mustache, or comments about his mustache,
because it's a Dirt McGirt mustache, you guys. If you have not seen it, Google Austin Matthews mustache, and I mean, it's dirty. It is so dirty stash.
It is such a good mustache, and he gets so much hate, and I don't understand why. I don't know who feels the need to disrespect him and his mustache like that. But now he's raising money to, if people donate enough money, he'll shave his mustache off, because it's Movember and all that. So he's doing this whole fundraiser thing, which is great. I love that. We want to donate to those kind of things, but I also don't want the mustache gone. So I am having a moral conflict right now, and I don't know what to do about it. But yeah, don't shave the mustache. Just raise the money. I'm on board with the raising the money.
I mean, it's so funny to see how some guy, I mean, I can barely grow a mustache, but I can a little bit, you guys, I'll be honest. It's part of all women can. All right. No, it's so funny to see how different facial hair grows in on different guys sometimes too. And you forget Movember was such a big thing with the NHL, right? And I mean, hockey fights cancer. And unfortunately, with no season, I think a lot of those efforts and initiatives kind of go under the radar, but I love that they're still doing it. And I love that all the players are still invested in doing it kind of in their own time, because right now it is the off season and it's their own time. So it's pretty cool, pretty impactful. Again, a reminder now that we are partnered with Minnesota Hockey Fights Cancer. You can check out their website at minnesotahockeyfightscancer.org. A lot of youth teams, a lot of youth hockey associations, along with some pretty big names jumping in, raising some money, a fun way to compete. I know the Minnesota Wild are offering up some cool incentive packages for youth associations and teams that want to get involved in helping raise cancer here in Minnesota particularly. So reminder, shout out to them as well. More good news, because this week was full of good news. Not finally. A lot of news, but really good news.
Friday the 13th, who never heard of her? We got a good episode today.
Exactly. We saw Lane, I'm going to butcher this name, Machetic, a Humboldt Broncos player who hopped on the ice for the first time since that terrible bus accident that had wounded the majority of the team and had killed a lot of those team members. So after 2 years of recovery, he was on the ice this week for the first time. So that was a really cool video. Be sure you Google that, check that out. Washington Capitals hire their first female video coach, a former University of Wisconsin video coach. She will be down with their team in Hershey, but heck, Alexis, the future is coming to the women, right? We can do this. Let's lead the charge.
Yes, it's so exciting. I always say this when we talk about this stuff. It's sad that it took this long, but it's so exciting that when it finally does happen. So it might seem like baby steps. It might not seem like, the biggest job in the world or the biggest step in the world, but every step is so important. And that this woman is so excited about this job, right? Because she knows that she's the first to do it. She knows that, there's just so many things I'm sure that are going through her head as she takes on this opportunity. So it's just really fun to see women getting opportunities, no matter what it is. And especially when it's someone doing it for the first time or whatever it may be. So I was really excited to see that news because, once there's one, there's more that are going to be following at some point, whether that's this year, 5 years, 10 years. But it takes some baby steps to get to the bigger steps. So congratulations to her. And I'm super, super excited about that.
I mean, and she's qualified clearly because she was doing it at the Division I men's college hockey level with the Big Ten. University of Wisconsin Badgers is no slough of a team. So I mean, she's warranted the position. She's warranted a look just like any other man. And it's very exciting. Yeah. We always love that. And just like any guy, if any guy were to get that position, congrats to him too. But pretty exciting to see some women start to move up the ranks in hockey as well in different positions that, aren't what we're typically seeing. The biggest excitement, which I'm sure it's going to drop today because we're recording.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what happens. But Adidas did a little tease on their retro uni teases. Everyone kind of quickly honed in on North Stars colors, which the Wild then confirmed that yes, it will be kind of a North Stars play, a little Minnesota Wild North Stars vibe. Has not been officially released yet. They did release the Pacific Division. Alexis, you and I will get into that in a second. But do you like the idea of a North Stars Wild combo, or what's your feelings there? Because I got feelings, I got thoughts about it, but I want to hear yours first.
I'm, I guess, indifferent about it now. I have to see them before I get fired up about anything. Like, the idea of it sounds interesting. Like, I'm not completely turned off by it. I am intrigued. I'll give them that. But I do have to see the jersey before I have like a hard and fast conclusion about how I feel about them. But the concept itself is intriguing. I'll say that much.
I'm always so torn on this, right? Because I love the nostalgia that the North Stars bring. My North Stars jersey is probably, my top jersey, tied only with the Mighty Ducks jersey, Charlie Conway. But I would say sometimes it just gets a little like exhausting how much Minnesotans tend to pine for that, right? I mean, it's sometimes you kind of want to be like, let it die. Like, I know people are going to probably get very angry about this. We're probably going to have to make merchandise because people are going to be sad that I'm chirping the North Stars. And I'm not by any means, because they're such a part of Minnesota hockey history. They were one of the most successful teams that Minnesota's had professional hockey. But I think sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, I'm intrigued though, like you had said, as to how they're going to balance that a little bit. Like, I like the colors. I think those colors are a lot stronger than the Minnesota Wild's current colors. So I love bringing that back. But yeah, is it going to be like an M? Is it going to be a scripty thing? Because obviously, again, they don't have rights to the North Stars name and logo and stuff like that. So they have to get creative. So we'll see what that looks like. Let's talk the Pacific Division release there. So we saw LA Kings, we saw Calgary, we saw Anaheim, and we saw, who am I forgetting? Edmonton? San Jose. Yes. So what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I think they're cool. I think it's something a little bit different. I think that they're unique. I think they're fun. I think the whole nostalgia thing, everyone always will get worked up about that, for better or for worse. And so I think it's an interesting idea to do like the retro thing. I will have to say that there was a tweet that's going around right now that it's like, what isn't a sport but feels like a sport? And somebody quote tweeted it and said, trying to figure out what reverse retro means. And I thought that was hilarious, because it is. It's like, what do you mean? Isn't reverse retro just like modern day? Like, how do you reverse retro something? So I did think like the whole like phrasing they chose to describe them was kind of strange, but I do like the jerseys themselves are very cool. It's a cool concept. So that, like, I mean, to go back to the Wild North Stars one, that does get me excited to see like what the Wild came up with, because seeing these sneak peeks and seeing these come out and stuff, I'm like, okay, these are cool. Like, I'm really liking these for the most part. Dallas can put their jersey back wherever they found it, but everyone else is like doing okay. I don't know what Dallas is doing, but everyone else's jerseys are looking cool so far. So I am excited to see what the Wild do. I do feel like the Pacific Division has the coolest color schemes of all of the divisions. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel, like the San Jose teal is very cool, and like the Anaheim, like the old school Anaheim jerseys, those teal ones are slick. Even like the Vegas, like the gold, like there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with those color schemes. So I do think that it's been fun seeing those come out for sure.
I mean, of the 4 that were released, again, that was, we were wrong, so we'll just call it a spade. Edmonton released theirs, Arizona released theirs, Calgary released theirs, and Anaheim released theirs. Yeah. I loved the Ducks one because it goes back to the face mask duck. And
I was going to say, that one's my favorite.
That one's probably my favorite. I mean, I always laugh, and I had a friend that was a huge Ducks fan because he was from Anaheim. I used to give him a hard time because it's like, that's a team that's named after a Disney movie about Minnesota hockey. And it's just like, it always cracks me up. Like, we're the best. And then it's, the dagger is the Ducks beat the Wild and yada, yada, whatever.
Yeah, we get it.
We won't go there. But I would say that was probably my favorite one. Arizona, a close second too. Edmonton, sure, whatever. Calgary, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
but no,
the Ducks ones were my favorite. Yeah, those, I just like and like I said, the old school teal Ducks jerseys, like those are just so classic. Like, I don't know how you can dislike those jerseys. And so, and like I said, I feel like the color schemes for a lot of those Pacific Division teams are just like, they lend to really cool designs. So I'm excited to see everyone else come out with theirs. I'm excited to see what the Wild do with theirs. I know there's some people who like very, very, very much care passionately about jerseys and whatnot. I wouldn't consider myself one of those people, although after the whole Dallas debacle, I might be now. I don't really know. Maybe I do care about jerseys more than I thought. But it is fun to see new ones come out and to mix them up a little bit. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have, that's such a niche thing, right?
Yeah.
People like freaking love jerseys. Like I have, you're going to laugh because I have more jerseys than I do like shoes. Like
Oh my
I mean, fancy,
God.
I know that's just who I am, right? Like I have some high heels just for game nights and whatever
Yeah.
too, but majority I
I
choose a
literally
jersey
have
over a
like
pair.
3. Here's the jerseys that I currently own. A red Minnesota Wild Nicholas Backstrom jersey, the one with like the circular logo.
Yeah.
I have a All-Star Game signed Nicholas Backstrom jersey. And I have a white, like the current white Charlie Coyle jersey. Should have brought that up when we had him on the podcast. That
Oh
was
man, I
the
know.
most recent jersey that I've purchased, and that was like, I don't know, 5 years ago. So
I have always been very fortunate to date gentlemen that particularly love giving me jerseys for gifts. So that's where I've
gotta
like
find
gotten
me
a
one of
lot.
those.
You got to work on that more. So I got my North Stars one,
Oh yeah, you have a
my
Twins jersey.
Charlie Conway Mighty Ducks jersey. I've got a 1980 replica Team USA jersey. I have a Cade Fairchild USA jersey that he had worn.
Gosh.
I know. Throw it back. When I was
Jeez.
working at USA Hockey, one of my coworkers was like, "Here, do you want this? It's a Gopher." And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And I'm like, oh, "Whatever happened to Cade Fairchild?" But so I have that. I have with my last name Pierce on the back of it, USA Hockey jersey for my internship. I've got the green scripted Minnesota Wild jersey, no nameplate. I have the new white Minnesota Wild jersy. I have a Chicago
Jeez.
Blackhawks jersey.
Oh
I
my
have
God, Jesse.
I think I have a Minnesota hockey jersey. I have some more. I have a lot of jerseys. I think I have I have the really old white Minnesota Wild jersey, and
those
then
ones are slick. Those are my
I have a
favorite.
red one too, I think.
See,
And then my husband's got a couple.
There's people who will like wear jerseys, like you will like wear a jersey just for fun, like as your outfit for the day. Like I'm only gonna wear a jersey if I'm going to a game. Like I will not just sit and like wear a jersey at home or like
I won't wear it in public. Like I'll wear it to be like silly or like to dress up. But yeah,
sure.
I do. I have too many because there's sometimes like I can't decide between my North Stars jersey or my Mighty Ducks jersey or my 1980 jersey. Like I freaking love that one. And
yeah. Well, so what we learned today is find men who will buy you hockey jerseys.
Yes, exactly. I know. I had
the key to dating.
Somebody had asked, and I got that North Stars jersey forever ago, like a long time ago. And they're like, "Where'd you get that?" I was like, "A boyfriend. I don't know. Like, I don't know where he found it at the time either." So yeah, date people that understand your passion for the sport that you love, and we'll hook you up with some cool.
Take
cool
notes,
unis.
Everybody. This is a dating podcast.
It was like the lingerie. Like, no lingerie. Get me a hockey jersey, baby.
Way sexier.
Way sexier. Speaking of this isn't sexy at all, so this is a terrible segue. But I saw the Tim Hortons hockey Barbie. Did you see that?
That's sexy. Donuts are sexy.
Donuts and hockey Barbies are sexy. Yeah.
No, I did not see that. I saw you put it in the rundown. I'm gonna Google it right now.
Yeah, so it's basically Tim Hortons is teaming up, and they created these hockey Barbies with Hockey Canada, because obviously Tim Hortons.
Oh, those are cool.
Hockey Canada thing. One of our followers had actually sent it along to us to share. But yeah, I thought it was just a really cool thing because I think a lot of folks give Barbie kind of a hard rap sometimes, right? But Barbie has been everything. She's a doctor and a rock star and a scientist and a mom, and like it kind of just shows a little. Like I used to play with Barbies just as much as I would go outside and play sports. I certainly love to do that. So I think it's a really cool way to just engage in the hockey community, engage with girls. I don't see anything wrong with it really. I think it's cool. I mean, I freaking want one of those Barbies now. Like that seems really cool.
Yeah, and I think like it seems so small, but like to see, I remember like when I was a kid and like they didn't have as cool of Barbies when I was a kid, right? Like now they've got like everything under the sun, but like they still had some of the like career Barbies where it was like, oh, this one's a vet or this one's a doctor, and like those were always so fun like to buy. I don't know why, I just thought those were so cool. Like they were way cooler than just like the normal blonde Barbie. I'm like, I want the one who's like doing cool jobs. Like, so I think that it seems like such a simple thing, but it's like you see it and then I don't know, it's like maybe someone will see that and be like, oh, that would be cool to be a hockey player. And then like they're a kid and they start playing hockey because they played with a Barbie who was a hockey player. Like you don't know what kind of correlations those can have. And at the very least, it's just a cool looking Barbie that kids can play with. Like, I don't know. Those are the most fun to go to the store and buy anyway. So
exactly. I love it. Keep it up, Tim Hortons, Hockey Canada. I think it's awesome. Again, any of our Canadian friends listening, I'd take one. If you want to send it out, I'll pay for shipping. I'll pay for the Barbie. I don't know how much they cost. But I want one of those. I think they're pretty freaking cool. Or maybe USA Hockey and Tim Hortons figure something out, or somebody else.
Yeah, there you go. Get to work on that, Jesse.
Get to work. Yeah. Anything else that we should wrap up with in segment 1 here? I know we did our mascot debate, which was kind of meh, guys. I'll admit it was meh. I get that.
I thought for sure people would have stronger opinions on this because mascots really get people worked up. So
yeah.
It's kind of like
Cappy got a little worked up. Cappy got back at us and said, "No, he's
clapped
the best
back by Cappy." Yeah, who'd have thought?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Cappy's feisty, and Cappy's like always roaming around on Twitter, like looking to yell at people and whatnot. So yeah, I think that it's a tough question because there is like so many across so many different like. It's not just the NHL and NWHL. There's college mascots and like there's so many different levels that you could have gone to pick one. But like, yeah. And I think it seemed like some people were surprised that the rat was the Panthers.
Well, so you have two, and that's where it's funny because you have two. The Panthers have two. They have Stanley C. Panther.
Yeah.
And then they have the Victor who split time equally. Like they don't just have one roaming around because there are a couple other teams that had to, like Columbus Blue Jackets had to for a little bit. They had their old Cannon Boomer and then they had their Stinger.
Yeah.
But they got rid of Boomer, so then they just have the Stinger. But yeah, Florida still utilizes both of them, and I was like, we're definitely going with the rat. And I remember that story. Like the storyline, for those who don't know, is that they kill the rat before they went to the Cup Finals, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
so now like throwing a rat on the ice is like like their version of it's like how Detroit throws octopi,
multiple octopi
pieces. You know what, whatever, it's like how they throw an octopus on the ice. So but I do think that the whole rat thing is like less well known. I remember that like a long time ago I was a guest on another podcast and I was like telling this story and like nobody knew it. They were like, Panthers throw a rat on the ice? I'm like, I didn't know that this was like not common knowledge, I guess.
I mean, because you don't have many Panthers fans probably watching the game.
That's probably one problem. Yeah. I mean, the rat, the picture you chose looked like if Chuck E. Cheese was like a drug addict. Like that's kind of like what that rat looked like. Like the rat
appropriate
is like,
for a Florida situation.
Like not surprising at all. Gritty is like if Sesame Street turned into a nightmare. And I don't know. Cappy's just weird. Cappy is just like... Oh man, there's so many good choices though for like terrible mascots. I know Nordy gets a lot of heat because everyone's like, "What the heck is Nordy even?" Like, and you just
but
throw
his
a mullet
eyes
on
are
him.
his eyes are so gentle. I just think
I'm not scared of
kind.
Nordy, but I there's times I'm looking at him like, "What are you?" Like, what are you? Who are you supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Characters, mascots. I told you. Did I ever tell you the mascot story that I dressed up as a mascot once upon a time?
I don't think so.
I worked, so for those who don't know, I went to Iowa State University, and so I used to work for the marketing department for a little bit, and I was an intern there. And it was August in Iowa, which is freaking torture. Yeah. And we had to work this marketing event, and apparently Cy, who is like a big-ass cardinal bird, didn't show up. And so what do interns have to do? Interns have to jump in this mascot suit. So I had to put on this bird suit in like 80-degree humid Iowa weather and walk around and have kids pull on my tail. And I couldn't say anything. So not only that, and not to mention I'm small for what this mascot costume we had was too. So it just looked ridiculous. It was terrible. And that was my career as a mascot once upon a time. Thank you.
Now we know if Nordy ever needs backup that you are ready to go. Like just pull her out of the press box, throw her in the Nordy
I can't
suit.
Not talk. Like that's probably the hardest thing for me. Like how do you supposed to stay mute? Like what? No.
Yeah, and like little kids are sometimes like weird with mascots. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Just like stand there? Like will kids cry or like beat on me? Like what? Like I don't understand. Like being a mascot would be a lot of work. And think about they always have like the people like escorting them because they literally like can't see, so it's like you can't talk, you can barely see, it's probably hot in there, like no one knows who you are, you're just wandering around. Like what a life being a mascot. Victory Rat, no wonder he looks like a drug addict. I would probably be that way too if I was a mascot.
They have to do like training too, and like you have tryouts to like be a mascot. Like good on those people,
just
right? Like
stand here and don't talk and don't move. All right, you pass. Put him in the uniform.
Exactly. I do love when Nordy gets on the media elevator anytime I've been there too, and I'm like,
I know.
Nordy? Like,
I literally just sit there like twiddle my thumbs. I'm like,
I know. It's like a celebrity. Like, hey, don't
look at him. Don't talk to him. He's working.
Well, that's a good wrap up of segment 1. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dave Starman joins us to talk college hockey, plus questions and Dear Diary with Alexis. Stay tuned.
We've given our Teespring store a fresh new look, custom designed to rep and support the Beauts. We've got hockey hoodies and tees perfect for lounging and rewatching your favorite Wild game. Grab a mask, grab a tee, and be a Beaut with our official Bardown Beauties Teespring store.
We're back. Joining us now, one of the most well-known college hockey analysts with a master's level in coaching and a hell of a lot of fun to watch during the World Juniors, Dave Starman. Dave, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. This is going to be awesome.
Heck yeah. College hockey, baby. It's coming. It's going. How pumped are you that college hockey is going to make a return, a little bit different naturally, but it's coming back?
I think that in this insane year, the fact that there's hockey coming back at any level is great. The fact that college hockey, and it's unfortunate with the Ivies announcing they're not going to play. And I know RIT is kind of in a situation that they're trying to battle out of in terms of getting their men's and women's programs going. But it's just good that, for the most part, we're getting ready to roll. Long Island University is going to play an interlocking schedule with Atlantic Hockey out here in the East. And that's a new program that we're obviously keeping an eye on. I'm pretty excited about. So I think that just the fact that we're going again is terrific. I am hoping that everybody does it the right way and does it safely. I know with the NCHC going into the pod in Omaha, there'll be some strict rules for them in terms of where they're going to go and what they can do. So that should be okay. And with the other conferences traveling, hopefully that'll be good as well. Things are spiking around, but hopefully everybody will be safe. We can get this moving.
Okay, you mentioned Long Island. Big news out of University of Alabama, Huntsville, too, that program is going to stay around. How exciting is it to see hockey, college hockey especially, continue to kind of grow and keep in those traditional markets? I mean, it's a tough time out there right now. We've seen programs full, but for Huntsville to come back and Long Island to kind of keep forging through, and ASU and other likes, how exciting is that for the college hockey scene?
First of all, I think it's great. And the Long Island University thing, I think, is terrific because the campus is 20 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. And, we've talked for a long time about how important it is that we think it is to get Division I ice hockey on Long Island. And the island has become, over the last 20, 25 years, a really, really good player development hub. And there have been a tremendous amount of good NCAA players that have won national titles, that have gone on to play pro hockey, that have come off of Long Island. And I was lucky enough to be part of the New York Apple Corps junior program that produced a ton of those Division I guys and some pro guys. And, our pride factor was we were the only junior program in the country for a while that had one player on all four teams playing in the Beanpot at the same time. We kind of like that one. And, there was one night I turned on a game a few years back, and I'm watching San Jose playing Pittsburgh and watching four of our alumni playing in that game. So we're really proud of what we've done here on Long Island in terms of developing players for the next level, whether it be the USHL, the NCAA, the CHL, or wherever, and seeing those guys go on to play in the National Hockey League. So that was a great thing. And, the Alabama-Huntsville thing, I love the fact that Huntsville's got a hockey team. When I was coaching in the Central Hockey League in both Macon and Memphis, Huntsville was a fun place to go in and play. The Von Braun Civic Center used to rock for those minor league games. And I know that hockey in the South has taken off with all the minor league teams that have been down there. It's gotten marketed a little differently than it does elsewhere. And, when I was in Macon, we actually marketed pro hockey as, and we were obviously a minor league team, but we marketed pro hockey as a combination of professional wrestling, high school football, and NASCAR. And it worked, and the fans loved it. So we got great crowds, and there are really good crowds across the South when the Central Hockey League and now the Southern Pro League and the Western Pro League and all those leagues were running rampant. So it's good to see Alabama-Huntsville has stuck around, and hopefully that program will continue to thrive.
We talk about hockey coming back, and like you said, it's nice to have it back. It might not look how it normally looks, but we're finally getting it back. What kind of challenges do you think these college-level athletes are going to have upon returning to play? Just, like we said, we're seeing spikes in cases across the country right now. It's, a lot of these guys haven't played for a long time. What kind of challenges do you think we might see? Do you think the overall game is going to look different to a viewer, at least off the bat here?
That's a great question. And a lot of people said, well, look at the NHL, and those guys came back and it looked pretty good right from the get-go. But there is a difference between the pro player and the college player just in terms of the mentality and the training and obviously the physical build. I mean, those guys, for the most part, are men, and some of the college players that are playing are still someone on the younger side, and they're still growing into their body. So I do think for the college game, it could take a couple of games before players start to feel and look like the players that they were when their last season ended. That's going to be part one. Part two is how quickly they assimilate the mental component, because remember, they haven't played as a team in a long time. Like a team like North Dakota is basically bringing the whole gang back. I have to get this feeling that they'll pick up right where they left off and probably crush most of the country as they go go through it. Actually, they'll be playing in conference, but they're going to be a tough out in their conference because of what they've done. But the other part of it is going to be the mental side of it. Breaks are going to be longer, and time off is going to be longer, and space between games could get longer depending on shutdowns. And granted, college hockey is much like college football. You're playing on weekends, and we've seen some of the college football teams not be as sharp if they have to miss a weekend because there was a COVID issue, and then come back and play the following weekend. So I just think the physical sharpness, the passing, stops and starts, the timing, the angling, I just think some of those little tiny things might be off the start. But once teams get rolling, and I look at the pod with the NCHC, I mean, if that thing holds for the entire 21 days, I guarantee you by 4 games into it, they are going to look – that's going to be really good hockey because you've got everybody all bunched together, and you're going to have a routine schedule, and that should be pretty exciting to watch. Hockey East, I think, is going to be in good shape too because all the teams are so close by. As long as Massachusetts doesn't spike, I think that these teams will be able to continue to have some kind of normalcy. My question is, how do they play without fans? Because let's be honest about it. Listen, I was a college hockey player. We've all been in the college hockey environment. We've all been in the college environment. Yeah. Most collegians thrive on attention. So I do think that is going to be a very interesting dynamic to watch whether you're on the ice or off it.
That was, it's funny because that was going to be my next question. We talked to plenty of NHL guys and teams that had talked about, even for them, it's weird to play without fans, right? It helps you focus a little bit. And yeah, you don't have the dog pound in St. Cloud. You don't have any of the raucous crowds, right? That the players are used to. I mean, do you think that they're going to notice that they don't have their home crowd supporting them?
Oh, no question. Because take a look in college hockey. First of all, an NHL guy scores a goal. You get the celebration in the corner. Every once in a while, you get the little jump off the wall. Then you get the conga line in front of the bench, and everybody high fives. And you got that. In college hockey, you get a goal scored, especially at home in a big situation. They're bouncing off the walls. You get the big jersey pump. They play to the crowd, and it's great. It's part of the environment, which I think makes college hockey so cool to watch. Minus that, I'm very intrigued at how that starts to shake itself out. And like I said, I mean, hey, listen, we all went through the college experience. I mean, I had a better time sitting in the Commons talking to 8 people than I did sitting and reading by myself. We all thrive on that social group. So I am waiting to see how that all shakes itself out. But I do think the level of competition is going to be good because the bottom line is this. A lot of these games are going to get televised. A lot of these players, the free agents, they're playing for pro contracts. The drafted players, they're playing to show their NHL team where they are on the stage. Scouts are going to be watching. GMs are going to be watching. Coaches are going to be watching because let's be honest about it, they have nothing else to do. And this is a good chance for them to really sit in a comfortable environment, get some video on their guys. They're going to actually probably be watching with much more scrutiny as a video situation than they would be live watching the games in the arena. So I do think that is going to be a big factor as to why some of these games are going to be really, really good because the players out there that know that they're moving on to the next level are going to have to show a ton this year just to make sure that they stay relevant.
Yeah. Do you think that, I know we had Charlie Coyle on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to him about the whole no fan experience and what that was like. And they're at the pro level there, right? So like you kind of said, those pro guys can adjust a little bit faster, a little bit easier because that's their job. At the college level, there's still some growing to do mentally and physically. And so it might be a little bit different. But he said, I was kind of surprised by his answer because he said, he's like, it's not the same at all. Like I kind of expected him to be like, we shook it off. We just played. But he was very aware that there was no fans there. Do you think that for these college level kids, do you think that's something that they're going to grow into and get used to it? Or do you think it's going to kind of be a new battle every game to get used to the fact that there's no fans?
It's a good point. And gosh, do I feel old now? Because I remember watching and actually coaching in Charlotte when he played for the South Shore Kings in the old EJ. And he was a wonderful player in junior and a great player to watch in his college days. And, but to your point, do I think they'll get used to it? I do. I think you'll always get used to whatever situation you're playing in. So I don't think it'll be a constant readjustment. I think the first couple of games, it'll be a little different. And then all of a sudden you'll move on I think if you talk about the NCHC situation, Omaha might feel a little bit more at home to start with because it's their building. So, sure. But on the other hand, it may feel a little strange playing in their building with nobody in it. For the other teams as they continue to move around, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. And let's be honest about it. Most of these kids, before they got to the USHL or before they got to prep school, were playing in front of family and friends anyway. So it's not like they haven't been in a situation where they have been playing in front of the big crowd since they were kids. A lot of these games they play, and I got to tell you, the kids of this generation, I would be really intrigued to see how they adjust as they keep moving along because right now you can't even put parents in rinks. I mean, it's us, the coaches, the referees, and the players, and that's it. So, I do think it's not going to be as big a deal as it could potentially be because I think once you drop the puck and you get a couple of games in, these guys understand what the deal is. And the reality is a big game, small game, doesn't matter. You play 2 shifts, all of a sudden it's just hockey again.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and what makes you such a great analyst and such a fun person to watch is you're a coach at heart, right? Like coaching is deep in your blood. Tell us a little bit about that aspect of your life and what makes coaching so important to you, and even the ADM model as well, right? And how important that has been to development in players across the U.S.
I appreciate the kind words, and you know, coaching it's been my passion. It always has been, and it's all I ever wanted to do once I stopped playing. And I use playing loosely because I mean I was okay, but I always knew that it was the old expression, those who can't do teach. I figured that if that's true, then I should be really good on the coaching side because I couldn't do very well. But I loved it. I always loved it. From the time I was 16 years old, I was teaching in hockey schools. You know, in between being a student there, I would get on with some coaches and do some teaching. And you know, the first team I ever coached was a Pee Wee team with 3 of my college teammates in Hartford. We coached a Pee Wee A team in South Windsor, Connecticut that somehow figured out how to win the state title. And that was my start back in '88. So that was cool. So, I mean, it's always been part of my blood. I love it. I think it's such a rewarding yet frustrating occupation at times. And I've been lucky enough to do it at the youth level where I can work with kids in player development. I've been lucky enough to do it at the junior A level where we're putting kids out to that next level, whether it be the USHL or the BC League or right into the NCAA. And I've done it at the pro level, the minor league level, where you're coaching for your dinner. Like you lose 5 games straight and you might get fired. So, and all
did you like that pressure? Like, could you? I mean,
I did.
Did you do it? Did you?
Yes, I did. Okay. I really did. You know, to me that was, but it was perfect for the age I was at. I was in my mid-20s at the time. It was awesome. And you know, you're an action junkie. You just thrive on it. And being in the minor leagues, you know, we've all watched Slapshot 100 times, and you're always looking for, you know, where does life imitate art? And in a couple of cases, it did. And this story's way too long to get into, but my gosh, there were some times where I said to myself, holy smokes, I feel like I'm in the movie.
Did they bring their toys? Did somebody bring?
We had some toys. We had a coach get arrested. We had to bail out of jail. I mean, it was all kinds of shenanigans that happened. But you know, on the coaching side of it, I love to teach. I love watching players get better. That's my biggest ego right now is moving players ahead. They're almost more important to me than wins and losses at this stage. And I've got a AAA U15 team that I work with a couple of guys who played college hockey, who played for me before they did. I'm starting to get old. I feel like everybody on Long Island's played for me. But the ADM, you know, getting to that part of it, here's where I think the whole game changed. When the ADM came into play, I think it taught a lot of coaches like myself and others that saw success at the pro level, that saw success at the junior level. It taught us a new way to coach. And it taught us at times a better way to coach because now we're coaching age appropriate. I think the biggest mistakes that we all made was we're running a 10U team like it's a pro team, and that's not happening. And we have this great phrase we use at USA Hockey. Kenny Roush was the first one to give it to me, and he said, you know, an 8-year-old is not half a 16-year-old. A 12-year-old is not 2/3 of a 16-year-old, and a 15-year-old is not half a 30-year-old. Everybody is their age chronologically growing up, and they are that age mentally and physically, you know, within a year of that specific birth year. And you've got to understand, you got to teach these kids and treat these kids like they're the age that they are, not how you want to treat them like pros. And it made a big difference on how we retain players. Because players are starting to have more fun. We got a much more station-based stuff. We got into the cross-ice thing at Mites, which to me is the biggest no-brainer. I can't believe we all missed that for so many years. I know Louis Vero way back used to talk about.
I was going to say, I'm going to ask you about Lou Vero's stories coming up here too.
He was my Mite coach actually. So here in Brooklyn, but you know, I think that we just created an entirely new wave of how we approach the game, how we teach the game, how we play the game, and how the kids understand the game. That's the most important part, how the kids understand the game. We started to relate to the kids at their age, not asking them to relate to us at our age, and not asking them to do what we did when we were their age. I think that is the biggest thing that coaches struggle with, whether it be ex-NHL guys or ex-college guys or just guys that have coached for a while, is the new way that we have approached this. And that is, if we don't do this age appropriate, we're going to lose a lot of kids along the way, because sometimes we are all guilty of teaching way above the level of the kids that we're coaching, mentally and physically.
And you've made it fun again, right? You see kids playing soccer on the ice now. And it's so fascinating. I mean, with my work with USA Hockey too, it's something I fully support. I was around interning at USA Hockey when the ADM was first implemented, and the nerves there, like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, we're going to do this because it's going to piss some people off, right? We're changing the way things are done, and folks react to change very negatively. But I think what really sent it home for a lot of folks is when they did that video where they put adult members on this huge pond with these huge nets where they had to skate up and down. And it's like, now imagine being an 8-year-old. That's what a regular sheet of ice looks like to them. You know, these little guys by the time you get down to the other end of the ice, the puck's back there and you're not touching it and all of that. So I do. I think it's great. And I love that you're such a strong advocate for it. You mentioned Lou Vero, who is a USA Hockey legend, special projects manager, right? There's no official title. He just hangs around the office and bugs people. Love him to death. What is your best Lou Vero story? And for anybody who doesn't know Lou, if you ever have the chance to meet him, he's the best. He has the funniest stories. He's a character. He's your typical Italian, right? Like he's very.
Oh, he is. He's perfect. I mean, he represents our area so well when it comes to just being that. But funny stories. I'll tell you what. The most enjoyable times and the funniest parts around being Lou are just watching Lou tell stories. and the funny part about it is he's told them so many times that every once in a while it starts to blend them together. And I remember we had a big Lou Vero night here on Long Island last year, and he started to tell a story, and he had told me the story before, and there were two separate stories, one led into the other. But the way that he told them, I think he lost track of what he was doing, and he started telling the second story in the middle of the first without wrapping up the first one yet. But here's the thing, everybody figured it out just because they know Lou, so it's, I think he's a treasure. I think what he did as a roller hockey coach from Brooklyn, New York, and let's not remember, New York City was not, nor is it even today, this humongous hockey hub. I mean, the game is popular within the 5 boroughs, and the Rangers obviously have a place in the city, but I wouldn't call New York City a grassroots for hockey. Long Island, Westchester County, absolutely. Northern New Jersey, Southern Connecticut, those areas, yes, but not the city. And so here's Lou from Brooklyn, who grew up playing on, metal-wheeled roller skates in the park with garbage cans as goals, and, kids carving up pillows to make goal pads. And, I mean, you're talking about the real bare bone stuff. And I remember those days, when I was a kid, we weren't much different in that area. And he decided to go to the Soviet Union and hook up with Anatoly Tarasov and learn from him. And the experience with the 1980 Olympics, being the assistant with Herb upstairs, kind of the eye in the sky. And listening to Herb talk about 1980 to me is really special, because you could see that he's almost reliving it as it goes, and he knows his contributions, but he's incredibly humble about the role that he played there, and he's always deflecting the credit to the guys that have gotten the big press out of it. But to me, I just think he is such a pioneer for what he's done. He's done a tremendous amount for hockey here in New York. I think he's done a lot for hockey here in this country, and just to have him up there and speaking when he speaks to groups is so precious, because his stories are great. The way he tells them are great. And every once in a while, the little mistake that he might make telling the story makes it even that much more endearing. But he is a treasure, and he should be a Hockey Hall of Famer.
Now, I know that coaching is your sweet spot, and I know you said that you weren't that great of a player when you played, but I want to go back to your playing days, because you played goalie, and I've got a sweet spot for goalies, and I think goalies are fascinating. And so I need you to –
We're different.
I was just going to ask. I need you to confirm or deny, are goalies a little cuckoo?
Not as much as they used to be. I'll tell you a great story. As you guys know, my wife Shireen is our ringside reporter on our CBS crew, and so she's always downstairs, either between the benches or around the locker rooms during the games, and see some things differently than the fans might see as games are going on. So one game, this is great. We're playing North Dakota's playing, I think, Minnesota Duluth, and that's a huge rivalry, as you guys know. And between the second, third period, it's 1-1 or 2-2. It's a tight game. Cam Johnson is playing goal for North Dakota, who I've always nicknamed the happiest goalie in America, and he breaks the mold. And so she's standing outside the dressing room, and Cam comes outside the North Dakota dressing room to get ready for the third period. He looks up and he goes, "Hey, Shireen, what's going on?" Because they're both Michigan people, and they had a great relationship. "What's going on, Shireen? You enjoying the game?" She's like, "Am I supposed to be talking to you?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. You want to interview me now?" Or they were sort of joking around about it. So she texts me this story. So he has broken the mold on the goalies. But way back in the old days, I think it was a different position. I think goaltending today, and I have this argument with Mike McMillan, who's our national coach-in-chief, Minnesota guy. And, I have this argument with Mike all the time. I said, I think goalies have become a little bit more cookie cutter than they ever have been. I mean, everybody's playing basically the same style, and they're all basically the same size. And I don't find, you can watch 3 different goalies, then have them change their equipment and watch them again, and it'll be pretty hard to tell them apart. That's my view on a lot of these guys. We're back in the old days. I mean, if it was Don Beaupre or Pete Peters, you knew the difference. They played completely different, right? They were different sizes and the whole bit. So I think it was a harder position back then, because the equipment wasn't as good, and the techniques were much different, and there were so many different styles. And I think that's what drove a lot of the goalies crazy, was the uncertainty of what games could bring to them. I think today there's still a ton of pressure. You still have to be a really, really good goalie to have success, but I do think that the Allaire brothers and everybody that has contributed to changing the way that we play goal has done wonders for goalies' careers, goalie success, team success, and has made it just that much harder to score. It's not like we don't have guys who can't score anymore. It's just there's less net, bigger goalies, and they're just better.
I was going to say, do you see the goalie position kind of continuing to evolve a little bit as the game has gotten so much faster, right? I mean, there's more emphasis on speed and puck possession and those forwards kind of coming down. I mean, do you see that changing at all a little bit in order to kind of keep up and keep pace? Or do you think the NHL obviously is all more for more goals?
I listen, goals are exciting. Brendan Shanahan just came out with a great quote the other day. He goes, I get excited when I see big goals, and I think sometimes there's not enough of them. But you know what? When you play an 82-game schedule, you're going to have that 2-1 game where both teams are just so tired that they're just trying to get through the game. And the
or
game
you're the Minnesota Wild, and that's all you know how to do.
Listen, whatever works, right? So, you know, I mean, I spent most of this last year scouting for Seattle, and the Islanders are one of the teams I watched a ton of. And the Islanders, to me, were a great watch for the educated eye, but maybe not the greatest watch in the world for just a fan who was looking for that pull you out of your seat play. I mean, they had exciting players. Like Barzal is great to watch, and Mavillier is great to watch, and a guy like Anders Lee, can make some plays that get you excited, and their back end can really move the puck. But to me, they're a very systematic, educated watch, and they're efficient in the way that they keep things simple, but yet take advantage of teams. When it comes to the goaltending position and how that all translates in, listen, if it was up to me, I think there's still some of the older school mentality that we can put back into the current position. But the other thing is this: if goalies are going to continue to be 6'3" and 6'4", and it's going to be a conversation about if we can start making the nets bigger. Like, are you going to start to make them a little higher? You can't make them wider because of the piping in the ice. So they've got to stay the 4 feet wide. But you add or is it 6 feet wide? 6 feet wide. You add to the top of the net, you add another foot up there, which now all of a sudden those big goalies that go down, but their shoulders still touch the crossbars. If you put an extra foot up there, does that bring them back to a style where they stand up a little bit more? And make some saves? Does it change the way that they're moving across the crease to stop those quick one-timers? I mean, I come from the era of the 2-pad slide and the half butterfly.
I was just going to say, bring back the double pad stack. That's all I want. I don't care about anything else. Bring it back.
And listen, I'd love to bring it back. It's the only thing I could do. So, I know back then we talked about situational goaltending and using the 2-pad slide as a desperation save. Well, I used to tell my goalie coaches all the time, I said, that's all I do is make desperation save. But I can't stop it anyway. So I would like to see some of the athleticism of the old era get combined into the science and technique of the new era, because I do think that would take us to a new level of situational goaltending. And my biggest complaints are goalies don't catch the puck very well anymore because the gloves are too big and too stiff. So I think that's an issue. I think that the second issue is goalies don't use their stick that well anymore. There's not a lot of poke checking. I don't think there's great stick awareness when it comes to plays behind the net and blocking off passes to the front. And the third thing is I don't think they use their stick very well when it comes to plays in front of the net, low shots and deflecting shots into the corners, because they rely too much on the goal pads just based on the butterfly that they're going down into. So those are my 3 complaints. When I work with younger goalies, and we do a lot of our USA Hockey Goalie Nation stuff, there's a good core of us that are about my age. I'm 52. There's a good core of us that are about my age group that are starting to very slowly bring back some of the older fundamentals, like I just mentioned, to enhance what they're going to be able to do with the current style and meld in some of the older things that really work for us.
I love it. Bring it back. I do.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you.
Now we're going to try to bring it back, the face mask too, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
No, probably not, right? You've been fortunate to obviously cover a lot of Frozen Fours too. Do you have a favorite one? I mean, there's got to be one maybe that sticks out in your mind, not necessarily a favorite team, but just the whole environment and kind of everything that went into it. Or maybe it was the team, the Cinderella story, right? Or maybe it's a back-to-back UMD team, or, anything that sticks out that you remember, or maybe it's bits and pieces.
Absolutely. The 2011 Frozen Four in St. Paul to me was still one of the greatest Frozen Fours. It's probably my favorite Frozen Four. It was just a lot going on there. I mean, it was just the Minnesota Duluth story was amazing. I mean, that was a good team, not a great team, but it was so well coached and they were so dialed in, and Ryder gave great goaltending. I mean, that was an awesome team to watch. And that Michigan team was really good too. Like that was a team that teetered all year long along the lines of, this could be the year that Michigan breaks through again. And obviously, them erasing a 2-0 deficit late to get that game to overtime was a lot of fun. But I just think that the 4 teams that are ready, you had 4 real good pedigree teams, and the games were exciting and back and forth. And the overtime win, the UMD in St. Paul, overtime, Michigan. I mean, you had a lot going on there that I thought made it great. But the other one that stands out to me is Denver's 1-0 win over Maine in 2004 in Boston when Denver had to kill off 91 seconds of a 5-on-3 power play, and they figured out a way to do it. There was also in that game, John Jankus had scored a goal in the first period for Maine that got waved off because somebody's hangnail was in the crease, and they waved the goal off because of that, which I think robbed Maine of potentially what could have been their national championship. So that was another great one too. So I always think of the one in Boston where Denver beat Maine and the UMD over Michigan. Those are probably my two favorite.
Now, I'm going to ask a very important question, important to me because I like pizza, and I'm sure you're going to have an opinion on this. What's better, New York or Chicago-style pizza?
Oh, it's not even you don't even have to finish that sentence.
Oh, gosh. All right, here we go. Everyone
there are no better pizzerias on the planet than there are in Brooklyn, for starters. So we'll go there. And then, obviously, Manhattan's got some great ones, too. But to me, there's a place on 86th Street and I believe 4th Avenue in Brooklyn called, it's not Stromboli's anymore, it's something else now. Wait a minute. You know what? I think it's still called Stromboli's. The place is unbelievable. And anybody who has ever come from New York, whether they be famous, infamous, or whatever, has ordered a pie from there. So to me, it's New York.
What makes a good pizza then? Like what is it that makes
it's the cheese for starters. Like you can't skimp out on the cheese. I mean, you got to use high quality mozzarella, and so that's number one. And obviously your sauce has to be a high quality too, because cheap sauce is going to run. But the trick to me, and one of the things that I think is good here, and this is where the Chicago thing is good because they use the deep pan with the thick crust, but the crust is hard. Like if you don't start to cook the crust first and then add some of your ingredients onto it, then you don't get the well-done crust. And to me, when the crust is well done and crunchy, it just adds to how good the pizza is. But the other trick is when you're using vegetables on a pizza, remember, vegetables have water. So when they cook, the water seeps out and it can get into the dough and make it doughy. So you got to be really careful on your choices of veg. You can't go over vegetable on a pizza or else you'll wind up with mush. So that's part of the trick.
Look at you, you're like a pizza master.
Yeah, that's the most important information any guest has given us on Bardown Beauty so far. I have to take notes on that. The follow-up question was going to be, do you have a favorite pizzeria in Minnesota? I know nothing. It sounds like nothing's going to top anything in New York, but is there one that you go back to time and time again here in Minnesota?
I think there's like a style here. Like we have like the thin crust in squares. I feel like that's very unique to Minnesota.
Square thing. I mean, the square thing, like here in New York, we do the square thing with Sicilian style, which is a little thicker.
Yeah.
But nothing drives me more insane than if you're on the road or somewhere and you order a pizza and you open it up and it's cut in squares. I mean, what the hell is that? Pizza should be in triangles. That's the only way you do it. And for the thin crust style or the New York style, it's got to be in triangles. I mean, the square thing that doesn't fly. So, but I'm trying to think in Minnesota. I know there's a good spot that we've gone to in Duluth that we've ordered in from after games. I just can't think of the name of it, but I know there's a place that we've had
Sammy's?
up there. But it might be. But
I feel like Sammy's is, yeah.
But here's the Grand Forks has got some great spots.
Yeah.
So we've done really well with it. Rhombus Brothers is one. Like we've had some good success in Grand Forks with pizza. But Minnesota, I can't think of. It's funny. Like when I think of Minnesota, we stay by the airport so often, depending on what we do. That we're more used to eating at the mall or some of the new restaurants that have gone up around the mall, which is a fun area to be in.
Step up your pizza game, Minnesota. Make some memorable pizza places. Come on.
I will challenge anybody in Duluth and St. Cloud to come up with a great pie for us. I'm all in.
I think there's a place in St. Cloud too that they pride themselves. I forget what pizza name it is.
House of Pizza?
Yeah, right?
One that's in downtown?
We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's our
I went to school in St. Cloud, Dave, so.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
the only problem with St. Cloud is normally when we do games there, we might come in on Thursday for a Friday game, and we'll probably stay in St. Cloud Thursday night. But then right after the game, we tend to go right back to the airport because we're flying out Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm scouting, maybe I'm staying in the Twin Cities or whatever. So we don't spend as much time in St. Cloud as we should, but that's a fun little town.
When's the next time that you'll be maybe this way? Any ideas?
Gosh, I would say with this COVID thing, who knows? And I mean, we're hoping the NCHC looks like it's going to have a good weekend schedule in the second half, and we're the TV partner for the conference. So I would assume that if all goes well, we'll hit probably each site at least once in the second half. as part of the schedule. But I know it's also getting worked out. But Minnesota has become like a second home for me especially. But I know for our crew. But between scouting and coaching and broadcasting, I feel like there are certain areas that I don't need my GPS anymore to drive around in, and Minnesota's become one of those states that I don't use my GPS very much anymore.
That's fair. I mean, it's rink to rink, right? Really, for you, it's not a whole lot of different.
No, absolutely. As long as once you learn 94 and 35 W, you got it. I've been up to Toby's for coffee and a cinnamon roll. Like I got the whole thing going on now. So it's,
nice.
I enjoy it.
You're one of our own then, basically.
I feel as at home there as I do anywhere else. I'll be honest with you.
Well, awesome. Well, certainly if next time you're in town, let us know. We'll take you out for some good pizza. I promise.
That's a deal.
Done deal. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing your face on TV along with some college hockey coming up soon.
Well, I appreciate you having me on anytime, and certainly look forward to doing it again.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is producer Fred. I just wanted to make sure everyone is out there subscribing, liking, sharing, rating. Anything you can to help grow the Beauts would be amazing. I want you to tell your hockey coach. I want you to tell your grandma. I want to tell your friends, everybody. And by the way, check out our merch. Buy our merch. Bye.
We're back. Thanks again to Dave for joining us to talk some college hockey. Such a great dude. Everyone knows him. Probably the most famous college hockey person in the entire world. So I'm super honored to have made him a Beaut. We'll have to get him back on as college hockey continues. Fingers crossed on this season. So here we go for that. We've got some questions that were submitted again. We love when you guys ask us questions, whether it's about hockey, about life, about media, about anything, maybe something about Jim someday. Maybe we'll get Jim back in here, Alexis, and he can
that's what we need.
You.
Jim needs more airtime. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Alexis is dead. Jim, he's a peach. So if you have questions for Jim, let us know. We'll get those as well. But yeah, no, we have some questions teed up and ready. So thank you to those who submitted. We appreciate it. We'll request those every week before we record and be sure to include those. So Alexis, do you want to ask the first one that we
Sure.
received?
Yeah, we don't have producer Fred today, so we're just
no producer Fred.
Got to do everything by ourselves. Oh man. He's gonna have to take a pay cut. This one is from Steve Schneider. He sent this in over email. He said, "Here's a question for you, and perhaps you've talked about this before. Who are your inspirations in the world of journalism and broadcasting that influenced you to this point in your career?" I know we have talked about this before, but it's been a while since we've gone over it, so we probably have new listeners since then. So we'll go over it again because it's been quite a while.
I'll talk about it anytime.
You go first, Jesse.
I would say, broadcast wise, because I did before I got into writing, I always had dreamed of doing like writing and video and radio and kind of doing it all, which thankfully we've been able to do that now. But I did want to be on TV and on camera and do more of that. So Linda Cohn was my favorite because she did hockey too, right?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't many folks that did hockey, and there especially wasn't too many females that were very well versed in hockey. So Linda Cohn, when I was growing up, was kind of the gal that I looked up to, and she did it with so much fun, and she did it so well that she was awesome. And then Michael Russo too will feed a penny into his ego bank.
Yeah, I was
gonna
say like he needs it.
I know, but he's the best, right?
He
I mean,
is,
there's absolutely no denying that he is. You want to be like Russo, right?
He makes me want to be like a journalist, and I'm literally on the broadcasting side. I'm like, you know what? He's so good at that. I kind of want to do it. It looks like fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And he does it the right way too. Like I think for me, that's always the biggest thing. Like he's still pretty well liked. If there's a guy that he has a problem with, he goes and chats with them, and he has that. He cares about the character of guys and stuff. He's never trying to ream someone out or hang someone over the ledge. He's just doing his job, and I think he does a phenomenal job at it. So he's obviously on that list too. I remember before I like got into this and I would see Russo, and the first time that he like kind of knew who I was, and I was like, you know me? Really? Yeah. And now it's nothing, right? Now it's just like, it's just Russo, right?
Yeah.
Like, now I can rib him a little
I remember when he
do.
followed me on Twitter, which wasn't even that long ago. I was like, I've made it. Russo follows me on Twitter.
Yeah,
like now I know. Now I know.
Oh gosh. any retweet from Russo, the Russo bump, and now you have like 1,000 new followers. Like, yeah, cool. That's great. So no, thank you. Shout out to Michael Russo because he's awesome. And shout out to Linda Cohn. How about for you? Who's been your inspiration?
Mine, so when I'm on the broadcasting side of things, and I always knew that I wanted to do broadcasting. I dabbled in other stuff in college, like I wrote for the school newspaper and whatnot, but I always knew that broadcasting was what I wanted to do. So when I was a kid, Marnie Gellner was the person that I looked up to, which my ultimate goal, for those who don't know, is to do play-by-play for TV for the NHL. So there's no women in that role right now, or there never was. So I didn't really have like an exact direct role model of like, I want to do that job specifically. But Marnie, before she shifted over to mostly like Timberwolves and Twins and stuff, she did a lot of wild stuff. She basically did what Kevin Gorg does like a long time ago. And so I always thought that was so cool, because when I was a kid, I didn't watch any other sports besides hockey. So I know there was other women in like the football realm who were doing it and stuff, but I never really watched other sports. So it was pretty much just FSN. And at the time, Marnie Gellner was the only woman on FSN. Yeah. And so I looked up to her because I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I want to do that job. Like, how fun would it be to be around the athletes and be at the games? And like, I just thought it was so cool. And then as I got older, more women started coming into the scene, and I started watching other sports. So I was exposed to more women across other sports doing it. And as I got older and older, it seemed more and more possible. So yeah, I always say Marnie Gellner, and she knows this too. I've tweeted about it. I've told her before, and she's always like, oh my God, like she can't believe that like someone my age like looked up to her. I'm like, well,
she's done play-by-play for right, the Wolves and for the Link.
The Twins.
I mean, she's the Twins. Yeah, like.
And so
she's broken those barriers.
She is awesome. And I mean, we had Marnie on the show a couple months ago now, but she is just such a great person as well. And I know when I interned at FSN when I was in college, and I remember it was after a Timberwolves game one night, she just sat and talked to me for like a half an hour. Like, it's late. We've all been there for like 12 hours. We've all had a long day. She's got kids she wants to go home to. And she just sat outside the production truck and answered all of my questions for literally like a half an hour. And I told her, I was like, thank you so much for like sticking around and talking to me. Like, we all want to go home, I know, and like everyone's tired. And so she is just a cool person, really good at her job, a great role model, and I've looked up to her since I was a kid. Thankfully now there's a lot more people to look up to as well, but she was the first one for me, and it was a good one to look up to, that's for sure.
It's funny you mentioned that on FSN. So I had interned at FSN myself back in like 2008. So well before you. Like 10
and
years Marnie,
before me.
Yeah, Marnie was there. Anthony LaPanta was there.
Yeah.
And Ann Carroll was there. And I remember working late one night because as my internship role at that time was basically hitting play record and recording different clips and then going through and marking them down. You know, there really wasn't much to it, but as with anything, and I encourage anybody in any internship, go out and ask people the questions that you want, right? Like I knew I didn't want to sit and press play record the whole time, and that was going to be it for my internship. So I remember there, Ann Carroll and I had the same type of thing. Like, it's midnight, right? And the games are just done. And she sat down and she was like, all right, come to me with some live shoots and come and do this and that. And I mean, kind of had taken me under her wing. And I think that just speaks to the people at FSN. Like,
yes, they are
every
amazing
person
people.
there is amazing. Like, they're so nice and they're so willing to help. And that internship program was so great. I'm not sure if they still do it now or not.
I think they do. Yeah. Cause I know I did it. I'm pretty sure it was 2018. We might've been exactly 10 years apart. I think it was 2018 that I did mine. And I know there's a few people after me who I went to school with also.
You got paid? Did you get paid though?
Yes, I did.
Nope. No payment here. I had to I think it was, I had to take the semester off of school even to like do it. And then it was like, I got my credit for that or whatever.
No, the FSM people are amazing because there was one day that I was shadowing. I shadowed Anthony and Greenlay up in the press box for a Wild game. And I remember the game, it was against the Flames and it went into a shootout. And I remember the FSN people, like the producers and stuff, telling me, they were like, we've never let anyone do an intern do this before. Like, normally they don't get to sit up here. And I was like, okay. So I was like all nervous. Like, I didn't want to like say or do anything wrong. And I was sitting next to Anthony, and during one intermission, he literally just like, without me really even asking, we were just kind of chatting. He just all of a sudden goes into his entire, like how he started and how he got to where he was, just took the entire intermission to talk to me and like explain to me, like, you know, how he got to where he is and all the people who helped him along the way. And I still I always remember that because I thought that was so cool. I'm like, it's the middle of a game. He probably has a million other things he could be doing, a million other people he could be talking to. And he just sits and talks to me this whole time. So very similar to the Marnie thing where it's like, we're tired. It's been a long day. For those who don't know, like anytime you're doing like production based stuff, broadcasts, like that is like a 12, 13, 14 hour day. I mean, you're working on stuff from the morning until the game is done. And so anytime those people take time to like explain stuff to me, I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. I know everyone's tired. It's been a long day. And it's very nice to have people who care about, you know, helping the younger people, because without people like that, Jesse nor I would be where we are today, or it would take us longer to get to where we are. And so I know I'm super thankful for those people we looked up to, as Jesse is as well, because it takes people who know what they're doing to help the people who don't know what they're doing yet. So it's very, very nice. That's for sure.
Right. And obviously, if anybody ever has any questions like that or how to get a foot in the door, I know I've had numerous people reach out to me and I've been able to connect them with the right people, or they've shadowed myself up in the press box. And I love doing that, because just like they gave to us, I feel like I'm at a point in my career where, I could give some advice, or I'd love to take you under my wing and help you any way I can. I don't know, you know, if I have much value, but certainly feel free to reach out to Alexis or myself, and we'd love to chat more about this career decision. We'll be honest with you too. It's not all roses, guys, but it's a lot of fun. So we do get one other question. This one coming from Alvin, aka @HockeyMom_Alvin on Twitter. She asked a really good one, asking, where do you see Mikhail Granlund landing? Do you think he stays in the NHL, or is it possibly another league? Right now he is still an unrestricted free agent. So Alexis, I know you put it out there. Maybe bring him back to the Wild, or you?
Hey, listen, I'm no Billy G, but I'm just saying, I kind of like the sound of it. Yeah, I love this question. I saw this when I was at work last night. I was scrolling through to see if anyone had left any questions, and I saw this one. And I was like, that's actually a really good question, because I never really considered Granlund like not playing in the NHL. Like, you know what I mean? Like I never really considered that there was like another option, because he's still so young. Like, I think he's really talented. Like, I mean, I know that he didn't produce in Nashville like I think a lot of people expected him to, and like I think the Nashville Predators expected him to. So I think that, you know, now looking where we're at, he's still an unrestricted free agent. I don't know. It's a really interesting question. I really don't see him playing outside of the NHL right now. I think he would if it came down to that. I do think that Granlund wants to play. I don't think there's been any indication that he doesn't want to play anymore or take a break or anything like that. I totally see him in the NHL. I don't see him elsewhere right now. So I don't know. We'll see. I think that there's a lot of teams he could be a good fit on. And I was kind of joking, but also kind of serious about bringing him back to the Wild. Like, I really like him. I think he's a tremendous athlete. And I do think that he would be a good fit on the Wild. I just don't know if that's something that the Wild are interested in. And he's been an unrestricted free agent now for however many weeks. I think if the Wild were interested in bringing him back, they would have already done it. I think that opportunity kind of already passed, as far as like, I don't know why they would have waited till now to sign him when he's been an unrestricted free agent. So I don't know. What do you think, Jesse? You think he's going to land somewhere soon?
The only thing that makes it more intriguing is that his brother, Marcus, was also an unrestricted free agent. Would nobody decide to pick him up after he left the Oilers? He agreed to a 2-year contract in the KHL. So I think that's where it does kind of get a little interesting. Like, does that seem appealing to Mikhail? Because I think, you know, he's Finnish, right? And Finnish, everyone loves to play the game, but I feel like there's something extra strong pulling those Finnish players sometimes. I think you're right. I don't think he's obviously ready to give, you know, say, no, I'm going to step away from the NHL right now. I'm going to come back. And I think there are plenty of teams that could use him on their roster to bolster their squad. So, you know, I think he's probably being patient. I think he's taking into consideration too his family as well. You know his wife Emmy has a very successful modeling career, and she's an artist, and I know they're like royalty over in Finland too. So maybe it would be nice to go back.
2 kids or 1 kid?
One, and then she's pregnant with their third. They had lost their second child, unfortunately. So I mean, they've got little ones that they want to consider too. You know, I could kind of see him playing, I mean, maybe San Jose, right? Or Anaheim. I think the Wild are done doing whatever they're going to do, at least for now. I think it might get busy come, you know, trade deadline coming up later on, but I think they're going to go to training camp with what they have. So, and I've never been super keen on the idea of bringing him back, just because I don't know where you'd put him, right? I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, I like him, but like, is there like a gaping hole that Mikhail Granlund can fill on this current roster? No, I don't think so. Like, if we brought him back, would it be the end of the world? No, I also don't think that.
Again, he can babysit his buddy Hudson, and that's how that trade works.
Let me babysit Hudson. Can we? We need to. You know what we need to start doing is like taking the pictures you have of Hudson and then me finding a similar picture of myself and putting them side by side, because I guarantee you, Hudson and I have more similar pictures than different pictures. Like every time Jesse posts one, is it the one where he's in the tent with like the peace sign? That's literally me. Like, I guarantee you I have a photo that looks exactly with the sunglasses on indoors.
I was almost going to send it to you because I was like, oh my God, Alexis is going to love this. Because he was like just in some little mood. Like he just like put his sunglasses on. He's like, Mama, you want to take my picture? And I was like, yeah, I do, kid. You look ridiculous. And then he just goes and like sits down. He's like, peace. And I was like, cool. Like you're something else, man. He's funny.
For those who don't know, I have a theory that Jesse's, how old is he? 3?
He's 3. Yeah.
Jesse's 3-year-old child and myself are the same person. I have a conspiracy theory.
I have the same feeling.
Every single picture Jesse posts of that kid, I'm like, that is me 100%. I've done that before.
Yeah. he's such a vibe. So he is very funny. Yeah. So I mean, I hope we see Mikhail find a home in the NHL next season. I would say, yeah, I'll toss it out. Pacific. He's going to go to the Pacific Division. That's where he'll find it. I mean, those are the teams that I think need the most help. Maybe Detroit, like I think.
Well, Detroit, they could suit me up and I would be an improvement on the team. I mean, seriously, Detroit should take everyone off of the unrestricted free agent list and bring them onto their squad. No offense, Detroit, but yeah.
So let's see. Hopefully we.
I don't want Mikhail Granlund to go to Detroit. Don't wish that on him, Jesse.
I don't wish it on him. I just think I don't know. He won't garner a whole lot of money. So I mean, it'll be affordable. We'll see. Good luck, Mikhail. We're rooting for you. Hopefully, maybe we'll try to get him on the podcast and he can tell us himself what he wants to do. So.
Yeah, breaking news. He tells us which team he goes to. I want someone to break news on here.
One day.
It's my goal. I just want someone to break news on the Bardown Beauties podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up though, thank you again for those questions. We appreciate it. Hopefully that gave you some answers, some very long-winded, insightful answers as always.
Fred's not here to keep us in line, so he's
not. Yeah, he's going to be like,
normally he's going like this.
Damn you, girl.
The rap.
He's going to, or he'll jump in. I'm going to cut like half of that. Okay.
Sorry, Fred.
This is probably, none of this is making. It's just a quick like 1-sentence answer instead. Like, nope. Here it is. Like, all right, cool. We're fun. Before we let you go, though, our other favorite segment where Alexis dives into her potentially 3-year-old like Hudson. Maybe I should have Hudson start writing his Dear Diary.
We can compare and journal entries.
Yes, exactly. Where Alexis dives back into her youthful hockey books. I hear there's a good chirp on this one.
There's so she direct roast in this one.
She comes after him. So here is Dear Diary with Alexis.
Wild versus Blackhawks, October 30th, 2010. I hate Marty Turco. Seriously, I hate him with a passion. I mean, who does this guy think he is? He just gets on my nerves.
Boom. Marty Turco. Savage. Out.
Sorry, Marty. After I read that, I was like, oh, I remember hating this guy. I remember like despising him. He must have like done something, which I don't know what a goaltender could have possibly done that made me hate him so much. But like, I remember like Marty Turco was like the main character of my nightmares as a child. Like when he played for the Stars for a while. I can't remember if that was before or after.
That's how every time you mention Marty Turco, that's where I go to would be a Stars.
Listen, I don't know. Marty Turco, I'm so sorry. You
don't need to apologize. I mean,
not sorry.
If he wants to talk about it, we'll get him on the podcast. We can hash it up.
Let's hear his side of the story.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for episode 48, presented by Soda Stick. Again, shout out to Soda Stick for all of the cool stuff they do. They've got some cool things in the works for some Bardown Beauties merch, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to Talk North featuring us on their network. We really appreciate the extra exposure. Shout out to all of you guys for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe, rate, share, give us all the love. Go check out all of our merch. We really appreciate it. We're excited to keep this thing growing and going, and we got lots more exciting content and guests coming up for you throughout this season too. So stay tuned. We're gonna let you go. Have a great day.